Hey, it's Jack from Alpha Charts with the state of the market video. Today is November 4th, 2023. Before we get started, this video is for informational purposes only. These are not recommendations to buy, sell, or hold any stock or security. I may hold positions in some of the equities mentioned. Know your time frame and risk tolerance. All right. Thank you all for watching the video. If you haven't done so, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can follow me on Twitter or X at Alpha Charts 365. Always posting a lot of stuff there. I also have a subscriber group if interested. Please check it out on X at Alpha Charts 365. Let's get into these charts. I'll be using Deep View for most of my charting today. If you're interested in Deep View, go to deepview.com. Okay. So let's talk about SPY first. Looking at the SPY, we had a very, by the way, big structure wise. I mean, we see this big base, we see the pullback, pretty deep pullback, actually, top to bottom. Roughly, 10, 11%, right? Fine, actually, pretty normal pullback at a normal area. And then we had a rocket off here. Now, there was no signs, in my opinion, no signs that we were going to get this type of move. Yes, we were extended to the downside for sure, but no signs that we're going to get this type of explosive move higher. Yet we did. Why we always manage risk, right, in the markets, upside or downside risk. And the beautiful thing about this is that we've had multiple gaps, right? And we retook literally all the moving averages within the week, which I don't think anybody was expecting, right? And now we're basically in this general area. And this general area now is where we could maybe find, when we maybe did find a little resistance, it's extended to the upside. So what I'm looking for next is maybe some gap fills, let these moving averages start to catch up again. Maybe this 50-day will hopefully start to flatten out over the next few days. Let's see where 50 days is back here. 50 days is here, right? So once we get rid of this data over here, again, next 2 weeks or so, if we can stay in this range, maybe make some kind of inverse head and shoulders, right? You would kind of see that here. Again, this is the bullish scenario, right? And I would love to see some sort of pullback. The 200-day moving average absolutely has to hold. So was it 424-ish? Has to hold for sure. And again, it may not even come back that far, maybe much shallower, maybe 426. Make this little kind of basey look to it. And then I wouldn't be shocked if we get back up to, this 459 level. And then we'll see, right? Then we got to go zoom out and look at the bigger picture, right? And see what's going to happen there and take it day by day. But that is on SPY, the bullish scenario. Right now, the bearish is obviously we fall apart here. We made a lower high here, technically, right? So we still have lower highs and lower lows in effect. I would like to see a higher low here than a higher high. And that would be the definition of an uptrend starting, right? But right now, we technically don't have that. So the bears will be like, hey, we got a lower high. And then if we break the 200, we could potentially drop pretty far. I think that's the less likely scenario. Right now, I think after seeing these gaps and the power up, I'm more inclined to think that we're going to get a shallower pullback, maybe 426, maybe somewhere in here, and then potentially higher. The nice thing about that is it'll give us opportunities to enter positions if we missed part of this rally, right? Now, on the week, it was SPY was up 5.83%, and what a rocket. It was on slightly lower volume than the prior 2 weeks, but that's fine. I mean, again, price is price, so that looks pretty good. So 5.83, almost 6%. And the equal weight was up 5.89, so about the same. Now, the good thing about that is that it shows you it was a broad-based rally. It wasn't just the mega caps carrying the rally, which is what we wanted to see. Obviously, RSP is washed out more than the SPY was because it got sold off harder. And so it's still below declining 50-day, but the same thing holds. We still see the same kind of inverse potential head and shoulders, and I still think this 153 area on the RSP is, likely retest, as long as we get the shallow pullback. So that all holds the same, but again, I like that it was just as strong on the equal weight. I'm sorry, looking at the Qs. Now they retook the 50-day already above it, and 50 days already starting to fly. And let's see how 50 days is back over August 24th. I'll try to remember that, right? So over the next few days, weeks, 2 weeks or so, as we clear out this stuff, we already have price over the 50-day, and we have, moving averages that are already starting to move higher. 50 days already flattening. It's beautiful, right? Now, I don't know if we're going to keep it. This trend line's been intact. I wouldn't be shocked if we do see some sort of pullback and then a break of the trend line. And again, I think 400 is a level that we're going to retest. I just think we're going to get there, and then we'll see what happens at 400, right? But heck, from here to here, that's about a 10% move. That's a pretty powerful move. So, if it does, we still do have the lower highs and lower lows in place here. So again, the bearish scenario is we break the moving averages and break lower and come and retest 333. Again, I think that's the less likely scenario, mostly because of the power of this move. I could be wrong. It could have been just a really strong counter trend bear market rally. But right now, I think we have to say that's the until the less likely scenario, unless we start breaking these levels, right? There's always if-then statements. We're always on an if-then statement. But right now, I think that little inverse head and shoulder if-then statement is my more likely scenario. Yeah, on the week, so we've had a big 6.46 on the week. I mean, just really strong week, right? And then on the equal weighted, we had 6.19, so roughly the same, right? Roughly the same. Again, broad-based move and equal weights. So this 74-ish area has been super, super important to me. And when it broke it, I was like on volume, like, that's not good. Dipped below it and then came right back up. That is, I think it was a bullish, very, very bullish price action. It's right near the 50-day. Again, you see it on all these. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see some sort of pullback here, let it come down maybe 73-ish, maybe the 200-day moving average, and then breaks out. So really, really happy with the way that that's shaping up. You kind of see there's a trend line right there too, right on top of the 50-day. So again, the lower highs, lower lows still in effect. That's the only thing right now that's keeping me like a little cautious, right? So let's see what this pullback, how deep it is, how shallow it is, and see if we could break this trend line and make it a higher high. That's what we haven't done yet. Look at the mid caps. Again, super, super strong. Back to the 50-day moving average. There's your 200s, which is starting to decline. So we would want to see price retake that in not too long, because you don't want that a declining 200-day. That would be really, really nasty. If it stays declining and price is living underneath it, we don't want to see that. Again, very, very similar pattern forming there. I always like to look at the weeks, and that was up 6.54 in the week. So really, really strong move in mid caps. And IWM, this was, primed for a short. And listen, it still may be primed for a short. This is the structure I'm watching, but it may just not be ready yet, right? Again, day by day. And this looks, again, just like every other chart out there, very, very strong move. On the week, it was up 7.5. So one of the strongest moves, or the strongest we've seen on the indexes on the week. It was washed out right on support or potential support. right? And we'll see. Now it also is below a declining 200-day, right? That's declining, and so we'll see if it can, if it can get above it or if it can't. How deep this pullback is, probably to 170-ish is what I think. Gap fill, and then potentially move higher, leaving an open gap down here. That's the bullish scenario. But everything looks like it's setting up to be a bullish look to it. So let's see what XLF did. Looking at XLF, retook the 200-day. Again, downtrend line still in effect, right? So we'll see what happens there, but probably needs to pull back and eventually has to make that higher high, which it's having a hard time doing. Near bottoms, I don't care so much about the volume because no one wants to buy near or at the bottom, right? That's the hard part to buy. I don't know. I don't want to buy this because we don't know if it's going to keep falling or not. And that's why volume is usually lower near bottoms, or again, this is a bottom potentially, maybe not the bottom. We'll find out. But it's setting up okay. So XLF is setting up okay. SMH retook all of its moving averages. Love that. We got this kind of trend line. It's still, again, lower highs and lower lows. We'll see if that can fix itself. Fix yourself, SMH, please. Very nice little big structure here. The pullback. What was this pullback? About 15%. So not terrible, right? Not terrible. People are gonna say, "Oh, it's a big cup and handle." Again, it doesn't really fit the definition of a cup and handle, but I think it fits the idea of a cup and handle. And the pullback wasn't too deep, which I appreciate. Again, some sort of easy pullback and come back around. I think we can easily retest this 159-ish area, and the breakout here would be the very, very bullish scenario. On the week, again, I love to look at the weekly on some of these. 8% on the week, and looking at equal weighted semiconductors, 6%. So you can see the big boys carried it on these a little bit, but they were both really good. So the equal weight has been really weak. So semiconductors have been really, really weak under the surface. If you take out, Broadcom and Nvidia and some of those guys. But looking at this, we had a strong move, still has a lot of work to do under the surface. So if you're playing semiconductors, stick with the bigger ones. Those are the ones that are going to give you, seem to be doing much better, right? But again, it's got work to do. Let's put it that way. But SMH looks okay, right? So the leaders are leading. That's what that says. Looking at transports, let's look at IYT first. Again, we had a support area, had the big bounce. Still need some major moving averages. So again, it's nice. Not like, oh my God, but not bad, but it's not bad, right? And looking at equal weights, same idea. Right off of support, a support-ish area. But it's still going to be under declining 50, declining 200. So I'm not willing to say the bottom is in, right? This is a bottom. It may be the bottom, but it's too soon, I think, to call it the bottom. Let's look at housing. Housing was super strong this week, like crazy strong, up 13%, right? That is ridiculous. So housing was up big time, above all of its moving average. Let it sell. If you're interested into housing, let it sell down. That bodes really well for the economy because, as long as it stays above now, $77, I think things are absolutely fine. Great volume coming in there. And when you look at XHB, which is all the ancillary stuff, again, above all the moving averages, looks great on the weekly, up 11%. So it participated too. So everything housing related did well, strong volume. 74, right? Price has to stay above 74. That's it. It may come back some, no problem, right? But 74-ish. And then hopefully higher. And I think we retest 85. something like that, right? And we'll see. Then we'll see how it gets there matters. Is it symmetrical and so on and so forth. Let's look at the internals. Looking at the VIX. VIX just got crushed down below 15. Again, that says, bull market type stuff, right? At least bull rally at the very least. So that is really, really good. Looking at credit spreads, they are tightening it once again. So when we were in here, we're like, this kind of consolidation. You did have a lower high right there, but again, it's hard to say that's significant until you break this lower low, and then you have a trend, and you see it did and just fell apart. Still above the supportish area, but fell apart nonetheless. I don't need this volume on there. And then let's look at percent stocks above the 50-day moving average. You see Breath took a nice hard move higher. Again, you did have a slight higher low right there. Very hard to see, but it was just slight, basically a retest, and it popped right back up. Still below 50% of stocks are above the 50-day, but if we get a shallow pullback next week and then some stronger move towards the end of the week, this will be right back above here in the 60-75% range, which is a strong bull market range, right? And looking at the put call ratio, people are back to neutral to maybe leaning a little bit bullish. Again, there's no real signal there, but in the end, if we could be in this, this range, that's a bullish range to be in, dipping even below here every so often, kind of how we saw it back here in 2021, right? This is a bearish range. And here, much harder market to trade. This is a much easier market to trade. We like to see this, right? We're all making money in this type of market. So hopefully we can get down into this area and stay there for a while. And that'd be really, really nice. So let's look at the dollar. So the dollar index, man, this was, it just fell apart. So try to move higher here, came all the way back in, and it just fell apart. So as long as this, listen, if this stays below 105, 105.50, whatever, 105.50, we'll call it, that's bullish, right? That's bullish. Support no longer held, right? We broke that supportish area. And a falling apart dollar is really, really good. Again, I was thinking that this was going to break higher, and it didn't. It broke lower, expectation breaker, but for the bulls. So now let's watch this 105.50 again. If it tries to, and listen, it moved hard. So don't be surprised if we get a little move. 105.50 holds, then I would love to see that, right? And let it come down to 100, right? This is a bullish time for in general in the market. And 10-year yield also fell apart. You see down to 4.5. So we got right underneath that 5% that everyone was looking for. I was actually looking for a little higher. It didn't. It came back in. We'll see if that's the end or if there's more to it. But for now, declining TNX or 10-year yield, I think it's a bullish also tailwind for the market. Again, I don't trade off of these, but I know that they influence the market really, really strongly. So dollar, especially the dollar, 10-year yield for the small caps and like biotechs and things of that nature. So we have to pay attention to them, right? So when we put it all together, we're in what I think, a bottom-ish look to it. Again, we'll have to see where this pullback happens. We've just moved literally 7%, almost 7% off the bottom. So expect the pullback early in the week. Hopefully it'll be a low volume pullback into the moving averages. That's our time to scoop up what we want to own, right? That's our time to scoop up what we want to own, and then look for the bounce higher. And if we're wrong and we break the 200, then there's no reason to be involved anymore, right? We don't want everything living below the 200. All right. So thank you all for watching. Good luck next week. Get good entries. Watch your earnings dates. I know we had a lot of earnings already, but it's still going on. And watch your economic calendar, and follow me on Twitter at AlphaCharts365 for all this kind of info. Thanks so much. Have a great week. Bye.